What if the life you were promised, work hard, retire, and be okay, is actually the very thing blocking your soul's calling? Today's guest walked away from a 27-year career in education, packed her bags, moved to Mexico, and traced her lineage back to a Fula village in West Africa, and is now building a new Earth curriculum for the most important generation on the planet right now, Generation Alpha. If you've ever felt that quiet whisper that says there has to be more than this, stay with us. This conversation might just be the permission your soul has been waiting for. Welcome to Awaken Your Authentic Self, a sacred space for soul-led seekers, spiritual empaths, and truth tellers ready to rise into their fullest expression. I'm your host, Jessica, and every episode is an invitation to come home to who you really are. Today, I am deeply honored to be in conversation with Queen D. Michele, an author, blogger, and creator whose life is a living testimony of what happens when you stop negotiating with fear and start saying yes to your soul. She's a retired teacher who left the traditional system, moved to Mexico, wrote multiple books on spiritual awakening and well-being, traveled to Guinea-Bissau to reconnect with her Fula ancestry, founded the Fula History and Genealogy Society in America, and created a one-of-a-kind, AI-driven conscious curriculum for Generation Alpha. Queen Michele, welcome to Awaken Your Authentic Self. I am so grateful that you're here today.
Oh, Jessica, thank you for having me. I am so honored to be here. I really am. Boy, what an introduction. Man, yeah.
Well, you're
Did
an
that.
impressive woman. You have to give you your due right there. Absolutely.
Wow. It just sounds so good hearing it, but absolutely. And I truly hope that our conversation this evening for you and morning for me, it does resonate with your audience completely.
Oh,
Everyone who's listening.
I'm positive it absolutely will. Well, I would love to start right at that turning point in your life. If you look back to the season when you said, I am not continuing to work just to survive, what was the inner breaking point or sacred whisper that gave you the courage to pack your bags, leave Atlanta, and move to Mexico? And what did that decision awaken in you spiritually that you hadn't met before?
I love that word, sacred whisper. Sacred whisper. Because that sacred whisper is the soul self. That's your soul. And that sacred whisper was, after I retired from teaching 27 years, I took a look at my first, pension that came, and I said, oh, I'm going to have to continue to work to supplement this pension because it's just not enough. And I did, Jessica, that first year after retirement, I did all kind of little side hustles, to supplement that pension. I was an Uber driver. I did some online teaching, some online remote curriculum design. One of my favorite jobs I was having fun with. I was a shuttle driver for a transportation company that serviced the railroad. And I was taking conductors and engineers to and from their trains. Just kind of having a ball in a sense, a
Right.
little bit. Being that for 27 years, I was regulated by bells, a bell to start the day, a bell to eat lunch, a bell to, end the day. So here I am that first year after retiring. And, I was just out there kind of hustling. And I saw, the other hustlers that were out there, Uber driving, at airports, at restaurants, and realized after about a year of that, they're not out there because they want to be.
Right.
We're out there because we have to be.
Right.
And that sacred whisper was simply this: I'ma always have to do this. I'll always have to work to supplement my pension. And I didn't want to be 70 years old saying, welcome to Walmart.
Right. Oh,
You know?
yes.
And here's the thing about that, Jessica. I could have stayed on that wheel very easily, stayed on that wheel like everybody else. But here's the thing. I would only be working to pay bills.
Right.
I would work, pay bills, work, pay bills. There would be no weekend getaways, no fine dining, no concerts. I would work, pay bills until I couldn't work anymore.
Right.
And then I would live substandardly because I wasn't working.
Right.
And that sacred whisper was simply this: you don't owe anyone or anything your life.
Wow.
You don't owe anyone or anything your life.
Right.
And from that sacred whisper, I started researching the top 10 places to retire. And I did wind up in Mexico because it checked all the boxes for me, as it relates to climate, as it relates to location. It was just a 3.5 hour nonstop flight from Atlanta into Guadalajara,
Right.
which is the capital of Jalisco. And then it was just a 30-minute drive into town. And then that last box that was checked is that area in Jalisco. Mexico has 32 states, and the state of Jalisco houses the largest freshwater lake in the country of Mexico. That lake is called Lake Chapala. Now, surrounding that lake are little towns and villages, but on the north shore of that lake is the largest expat community in the country of Mexico. Americans and Canadians,
Right.
kind of figured it out, and it made for an extremely soft landing into that new country, if you will.
Right.
But that country, I could live off of my small little pension comfortably. And it was there that I began truly meeting me. Truly, there was no distractions, okay? And it was the magical mountains that I hiked, or that energetic vortex that I visited, and then the meditation that I started, and the sacred medicine that I experienced. All of that compounded into a spiritual awakening. My crown chakra blew wide open. I lived there in that area for 4 years. And it was a paradise, absolute paradise. Hiking and yoga and meditation and just truly going in. And it's where I met my soul self. And that's when I began living from within out.
Right.
From within out. Okay, that's new earth living. That's when I connected to my soul self and began being led, guided, and directed. And it's that soul self that says, go right,
Yes.
go left,
Yes.
turn around, call her, talk to him, sit down, be quiet, do this, go there. And it's this sweet ebb and flow with the universe that begins to happen, and you can truly live new earth now. Okay, so when they say live new earth now, I'm not talking about a place. I'm talking about a state of consciousness that one can live. Yes, you are in the physical realm of 3D, of the third dimension. However, your state of mind can be that of the fifth dimension and beyond, and that's living new earth now. If I could, I'd like to just read something out of my book, Traveling Home Together, that kind of helps break that down a little bit more as it relates to living new earth now.
Absolutely. Please share.
And putting the ego in the back seat, and having your soul self in the front seat, being led, guided, and directed. So here it is. There was one voice within when you were first born into this world. It had your undivided attention. As you grew into your humanness, a new voice was introduced through your senses. What you saw, heard, tasted, felt, and smelled drew you more and more into the physical world. And you lost touch with that non physical connection that your flesh now clothed. You also lost touch with the essence of who you really are as the world took over and the still small voice became smaller. The new, stronger voice that grew within and pretty much took over was that of your ego. Through programming and conditioning, the ego grew stronger and began running things internally. You attached and identified with the stories you were being told about yourself. Those attachments became your belief systems, which determined how you perceived yourself and the world around you. Those perceptions have become the realities in which you have lived for many years. The true essence of you is still just as present within as ego. However, it can remain unheard.
That's
In
beautiful.
other words, ego's driving.
Yes.
You're living these ego driven because you've come to believe that that's you.
Right. Absolutely.
But that's not the true essence of who you are. So through meditation, you can be guided back within, meet your soul self. Because it's still there, but that's what I like when you said that sacred whisper.
Right.
That's the soul self. That's the soul self. The ego is loud and and boisterous and loves its position
Right. Right.
in the front
Absolutely.
seat.
Absolutely.
So one would say, how can I meet my soul self? And we throw the word meditation around, but it is truly the game changer. And I get it. I get it's one can just not start meditating, Jessica.
No.
You just can't sit down and do that. What has to happen though, and what one should be committed to is starting with guided meditations. What happened for me is that I, on this journey, came across, although I was living in Lake, Chap- Lake Chapala, Mexico, I went back into the States to help my daughter. She had just had her first child, and I stayed with her for 2 months. So, helping take care of the baby and what have you.
Right.
But when I was out of the way, I tried to stay out of the way of her and her husband, for that bonding time, I came across a 21-day challenge that Oprah and Deepak was given. And so it was a 21-day guided meditation. So I went ahead and participated in that. Now, about time I got back to Mexico, I still had this, and I did the guided meditation. I wanted to continue, but I couldn't meditate on my own yet. I hadn't gotten there.
Right.
And so look, there's meditations, guided meditations all over the place. There's apps, there's the YouTube. And
Absolutely.
It was on YouTube. It was on YouTube, because I had this feeling that I wanted to continue this thing I had started. I had done it for 21 days. So, you do something for 21 days, it becomes
a habit.
So I'm looking on YouTube and I came across this guided meditation that said, meet your higher self. And it's just me saying, oh, I want to do that one. I'll do that one. But see, that's the universe again, putting all those cooperating components together, to lead, guide, and direct you. So when I did that particular guided meditation, it was like at that point, Jessica, my soul self said, I got it from here. I got her from here. I got it. When I was guided in, guided in. You gotta learn, you gotta be guided
Yes.
within.
Yes.
You truly gotta be guided within. But it was that one. And I've never done another guided meditation since. It was like my soul self said, I got her from here, and pulled me in. And I did meet my soul self. And from there, oh man, just the love, the support, the guidance, the protection, the direction, that whole world that's inside waiting for you, that world that you were connected to, again, before that flesh, before you became so engrossed in through your senses,
Right.
the flesh that it's I can't begin to describe just now that purposeful life that you came here to live, that soul contract can now, truly begins to be fulfilled.
Right.
Next thing I know, here's Guinea-Bissau, and the connection with my ancestors. And that came about again because I'm being led, guided, and directed through my soul self.
Right.
There's this, you've heard of Ancestry,
Oh,
right?
yeah, ancestry.com.
Ancestry.com.
Absolutely.
Okay, right. Well, over 20 years ago, a group of black scientists got together and they created the largest database of black blood in the world. That's African ancestry. Now, because if you take ancestry, they'll tell you you're a little bit of this, you're a little bit of
Right.
that, your region
Absolutely.
is over there. However, if you take the African ancestry DNA test, not only will they tell you what specific country out of the 54 sovereign countries on the continent of Africa, not only will it tell you the country that your bloodline originated in, it'll also tell you your tribe.
Wow, that's awesome.
And from that, I was very intentional when I took that trip to Africa. People say, "Oh, I went to Africa. I went." They go to Nigeria. They go to Kenya.
Right.
They go to South Africa. But how awesome would it be to be intentional about where you go when you go to Africa? Meaning you go back to the country, and more than likely it's going to be on that western coast,
Right.
from the top to the bottom, because of course that's where the Atlantic slave trade took place. And from there, actually, for me, I took the maternal DNA. You could take maternal or paternal.
Okay.
But that meant that my mother's mother, anywhere between 250 years, she survived the passage. She didn't jump off the ship. She didn't get sick and die on the ship. She wasn't murdered on the ship. She actually survived the passage. Now, when she got here, she got mixed with a whole lot of other stuff doing
Right.
breeding.
Right. Absolutely.
But the original bloodline for me is that of the country on my maternal side, is that of the country of Guinea-Bissau, West Africa, and the Fula tribe. I am Fula from Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. That's my original bloodline. And when I went back there, I took all of them back with me. When I stepped
Yes.
foot in my ancestral village, I took all of them back with me. And here's the thing, generational trauma is real.
Oh, absolutely.
Generational trauma
You're kind of
is real.
answering one of
And
my whole questions, so you just keep going.
yeah. Generational trauma is absolutely real. It is passed down through DNA, and we are unaware of it in on so many instances of that, and it comes out in so many different ways. Because understand this, we all through experiences have a form of neurosis, because those experiences, that are harsh, or a traumatizing experiences, they form after time neurosis is actually a mental illness.
Right.
And so on some level we are all suffering, and a lot of times just unaware. But here's the thing about generational trauma that's been passed down through DNA. If trauma can be passed down through DNA, healing can be passed up just as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Through
Yes.
DNA. So unaware of it, generational trauma, it can be, those generational curses can be broken. It's just an awareness, and healing can be, and you won't know that the healing and how it's being done, just like you didn't know about the trauma and how it was in your DNA. But I know that I know that I know that if trauma can be passed down, healing can be passed up. So that's where, the Fula History and Genealogy Society was birthed, because when I returned from Africa, I started a nonprofit organization. And one of the first tenets is to just raise awareness about generational trauma. That's all.
Beautiful.
Just raise awareness, because it's just so unknown. And just it's just the knowing of it all, for that one person in the family, that son or that daughter, that will it will resonate with them, and they begin with that knowledge and can begin the healing process, unknowing for those, the rest of them in the family that are unaware of it. Every family need that one person who is knowledgeable enough about generational trauma.
Absolutely.
To begin the healing of it. And from that, and that's the first tenet, is just to raise awareness of generational trauma. The second is to create, develop, promote, and establish educational materials for the upliftment and enhancement of sense of self and Generation Alpha. And that took place for me. I created a mindfulness curriculum, if you will,
right,
for Generation Alpha, for middle and high school students of Generation Alpha. And that was piloted in 2 middle schools during the 2024-25 school year. It's called 52 Insights for Gen Alpha, a conscious curriculum. So the two things that I learned during that pilot program, the very first thing is that unconscious cannot teach consciousness. That was a huge enlightening period for me during that pilot. And the second thing was that I needed to integrate AI into the curriculum in order for it to be consumable and marketable for its target audience. So
that's what they're used to.
Exactly. And so I took a course, and I learned I learned the platform that was needed. I learned the software that was needed. So I am currently integrating AI, the adaptive learning AI software, into the curriculum, and I will repilot. I'm going to pilot it again for the 2026-27 school year, but it'll be online now, and I'm really excited about that, because I'm not only reaching for Generation Alpha, high school, middle school, I'm also reaching for parents.
Beautiful.
And I'm reaching for those millennials, those parents of Gen Alpha. And I'm also reaching out to people who are in the teaching program,
right,
who are starting, those freshmen and sophomores who are going to college for the teaching profession. This is something that they will need,
right,
if they're going into those classrooms. So it's going to be a wider range. It's going to be online. And now I'll be collecting the data, through the platform. And after this pilot that I know will be successful, now I'm heading toward the ed tech companies, Hoff and Mifflin or Pearson, or those SEL social emotional learning platforms,
right,
to get 52 Insights out there.
I can't wait to see it out
the
there,
pilot.
because it just sounds amazing and just exactly what they need. Because I mean,
Yes.
not for nothing, it's like you said, this is definitely a generation of swiping and clicking.
Oh, listen,
Since
from
infancy.
infancy.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, since infancy. So, and that was, and here's the thing, Jessica. Let's turn this all the way back around and go to that, back to that circle. Let's come full circle with this. Had I stayed on the wheel, because I could have easily have stayed on the wheel,
Absolutely.
and worked and paid bills and worked
Like
and
most of
paid
the
bills and
population does.
yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly, until I couldn't work anymore and then live substandardly. Had I given my life over to the system, to the matrix, there would never have been a trip to Africa,
Right.
and the understanding of generational trauma. There never would have been a 52 Insights for Gen Alpha, a
Right.
conscious curriculum. None of that would have taken place, and that light would have not entered the world. But these are anchors. These are, all I'm doing is planting seeds
Right.
and watering plants for new earth living. That's my purpose.
Well,
That's the purpose
being
of
that,
my life here.
I love it. And I love that you found it, not just for yourself, but for everyone else. And I have to say that you seriously just even answered, probably went through all the questions that I had for you. And I love it. But I do have one last final question for you before we go today.
Absolutely.
Many people in this community, they are parents, aunties, uncles, educators, or simply just soul-led adults who care deeply about this next generation. If you could offer one heartfelt invitation to the guardians of Gen Alpha listening right now, something that they can begin doing differently today, what would that be?
That's an excellent question. And here again, it kind of takes me back to unconscious can't teach consciousness. As much as one would want to instill that, if you're putting out fires all day, and that's what I saw the teachers do. There was no way that they could connect with this generation. They are a different breed.
We are a different breed, absolutely.
Absolutely. They are native. And we're like the immigrants, more or less. They are native.
Right.
But I would encourage them to encourage Gen Alpha to find a balance. See, there's no balance right now because
Right.
they've been clicking and swiping. There's no balance of the internal. So they can't take Gen Alpha on a journey that they haven't been on themselves.
Correct.
How conscious are they?
Correct.
What do they know about balancing? Because certainly they're all seeing you just can't take the phone from them.
Right.
You can't take the tablet from them. You can't cut the TV. That does not work. You can't cut them off like that. So instead of trying to cut them off, guide them very gently inward. And how does one take that journey inward if you haven't been on it yourself? You got to go on it. I have no advice for those parents of Gen Alpha unless they've been on that, unless they take that social emotional journey, that internal journey inward.
Correct.
Because there's no balance. There's no balance. How will they? It's about self-awareness. Going inside and discovering youth.
Right.
And how can we do that when they have been external their entire lives from birth? It has always been that for them. So it's real hard to take them inside if you haven't been. So I would suggest guided meditation. They're already got the earphones on.
Exactly.
So how about leading them toward just a guided meditation? 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Have them do that or make them do that before they do anything else. Because their soul self is waiting for them on the inside.
Absolutely.
It truly is to lead, guide, and direct them. So if you can just lead them inward, that soul self may say, I got it from here. I got it from here. But here's the thing too, Jessica, that's very important, is that one has there are practices and exercises to maintain that frequency or that bandwidth, of consciousness. You just don't get it and then don't do anything with it. There are exercises and practices that have to take place in order to be led, guided, and directed and connected. Always connected, but aligned with your soul self. You're always connected, yes, always. But are you aligned?
Correct.
That's what'll make the difference. I tell you, oh man, I can talk about this forever.
I know. I wish we had more time, but you only gave me 45 minutes.
I'm sorry, but that is my suggestion. Is that they? It's hard to take them on a journey that they haven't themselves.
Correct.
Because there is an imbalance there. So even though they have the headphones on and everything, and for me, it started with meditation.
Perfect.
It really did.
Thank you so much. Queen Michele, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your courage to step out of the old stories, for answering the call to return to your ancestors, and for standing so fiercely and so lovingly for Generation Alpha. Your life is such a powerful reminder that it is never too late to choose a different path and to live in New Earth consciousness right now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
To everyone listening, if this conversation stirred something in your heart, that it's not an accident, I invite you to honor that nudge. Check the links in the description to connect with Queen Michele, explore her books, her nonprofit, and her conscious curriculum for Gen Alpha. Loves, if you're feeling called to live more authentically and awaken your own New Earth consciousness, like this video if it resonated, subscribe to Awaken Your Authentic Self for more soul-led conversations. And in the comments, share one insight or shift you're taking away from Queen Michele's story. Your voice matters, your awakening matters, and together we're creating the New Earth, one authentic life at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you again to Queen Michele, and I will see you in the next episode.